My own father looked me in the eye, handed his empire to my sister, and then offered me a pat on the head and a measly $50,000. But he had no idea what was coming. The betrayal burned, yes, but it also lit a fire that scorched everything he thought he knew. I'm Quinn Lancaster, and 3 years ago, I had the world at my feet. I was on the cusp of something extraordinary. The Dubai Marina Complex, a 40-story architectural marvel that would have launched my career into the stratosphere. Clients specifically requested me. They said, Quinn Lancaster, she understands how to make steel and glass breathe. My laptop was still open to those blueprints when the call came. Dad's assistant, her voice barely a whisper, told me, your father, stroke, Massachusetts General, critical. My heart stopped. I flew back on the next flight, leaving everything behind. My career, my dreams, my very life. The doctor's prognosis was grim. Round-the-clock care, at least 18 months of physical, occupational, and speech therapy. Years of recovery, if it happened at all. Mom had passed 5 years before. My sister, Lily, was in Paris, building her brand at a PR firm. That left me. I'll handle it, I told the family lawyer, signing power of attorney documents with hands that should have been sketching skylines. While Lily posted glamorous Instagram stories from Fashion Week, I was learning the difference between warfarin and Plavix. She'd send 5-minute video calls on Sundays. Kiss daddy for me, she'd chirp, oblivious. Meanwhile, I was spending 70 hours a week managing his care, his company correspondence, and desperately trying to keep my own career on life support through late-night freelance work. The Dubai clients waited 3 weeks. Then they hired someone else. But here's the thing about being invisible. No one, not even Dad lying there slowly regaining his speech one word at a time, knew my secret. I had a master's in architecture from MIT, top of my class. I was the youngest person ever to win the Emerging Designer Award from the Boston Society of Architects. Invisible daughters, it turns out, often have invisible achievements. Then, 8 weeks ago, everything shifted. Dad was finally walking without assistance. His speech 90% recovered. The company was stable, thanks to my relentless efforts keeping the board informed and maintaining client relationships. And that's when Lily arrived. She swept into the house with Louis Vuitton luggage and a year-round tan, enveloping Dad in Chanel No. 5. Daddy, you look amazing. I knew you were a fighter. Within hours, the narrative changed. Suddenly, Lily's strategic decision to stay in Paris had been about maintaining the family's international connections. Her absence became presence. Her 5-minute video calls transformed into constant emotional support from abroad. Lily understands a business world. Dad announced at dinner that first night, while I served the low-sodium meal I perfected over 3 years. She's been networking with European investors. I watch her nod knowingly, though I'd seen her LinkedIn. She'd been a junior account coordinator at a firm specializing in fashion bloggers. The board meeting invitation came 3 days later. I want Lily to attend, Dad told me. She needs to learn the family business. What about? I started. You've done enough, Quinn. Time to let your sister step up. Done enough. 3 years of my life reduced to a favor that had run its course. That night, I found Lily in Dad's study, photographing herself behind his desk. This lighting is perfect, she murmured, adjusting her ring light. My followers will love the whole women in business angle. She looked up caught, then shrugged. You don't mind, do you? I mean, you've never been interested in the corporate stuff. I just smiled, said nothing, and filed that moment away. But what happened next made those 3 years feel like nothing compared to the betrayal that was coming. The family meeting was scheduled for 4 p.m. on a Tuesday. Dad sat at the head of the dining table, Lily to his right, me to his left. His lawyer, Thomas Brennan, laid out documents with practiced precision. I've made some decisions about the future, Dad began, his recovered voice strong and certain. Lancaster Development Group needs fresh leadership. Young leadership. Lily has shown me she has the vision to take us forward. The words hit like ice water. I'm leaving her the company. All of it. The commercial properties, the Seaport portfolio, the Back Bay buildings, the Cambridge Tech Park, the residential holdings. Everything. $85 million in assets. The empire our grandfather started with one small office building in 1962. Quinn, He continued, not meeting my eyes. You'll receive $50,000. I know you've never been interested in business, and this will help you pursue your hobbies. Hobbies? My architecture degree, my license, my career. Lily reached over and squeezed my hand. You understand, right? You're just not cut out for this world. But don't worry, I'll always take care of you. Thomas pushed a document across the table. There's also a non-compete clause. Standard family business practice. It prevents any family member from working with Lancaster Development competitors or clients for 5 years. But I'm not. I started. Sign here. Dad interrupted, tapping the paper. Let's not make this harder than it needs to be. 3 years of sacrifice. And I was worth less than his car collection, less than the wine cellar, less than the yacht he hadn't used since the stroke. I looked at the pen in my hand, at Lily's satisfied smile, at Dad's impatient expression. When do you need this signed? I asked. By the shareholders' meeting. 3 days. 3 days to sign away everything. Or 3 days to change everything. The next morning, Lily was already in Dad's office when I brought his medications. She'd replaced Mom's photo with one of herself at a podium. Photoshop, I noticed but said nothing. The announcement goes out tomorrow, she said, not looking up from her laptop. I've hired Preston PR to handle the media strategy. New generation of leadership for Lancaster Development. Catchy, right? The shareholders' meeting isn't for 3 days. Oh, that's just a formality. Dad's already told the board. Marcus Smith from Technova even called to congratulate me. She finally looked up. You did sign the papers, didn't you? I'm reviewing them. Her smile tightened. Quinn, don't be difficult. This is what's best for everyone. You're not equipped for this world. You're too soft, too trusting. Remember when you believed that contractor who overcharged us for Dad's renovation? I had to step in and handle it. I remembered. I also remembered finding the real invoices later. She'd pocketed the difference. 72 hours, I said quietly. That's what Dad gave me. Fine, but the press release goes out regardless. Oh, and I'll need you to hand over all the office keys, the passwords, the client files you've been maintaining. Can't have any confusion about who's in charge. That afternoon, Dad called me into his study. Your sister tells me you haven't signed yet. I'm taking the time you gave me, Dad. His voice carried that CEO tone I'd heard him use with employees he was about to fire. Don't embarrass yourself or me. You've never shown any interest in business. Sign the papers, take the money, and maybe finally do something with your little sketches. Little sketches. I smiled, nodded, and left without a word. Something was about to change. Everything was about to change. What would you do with 72 hours to respond to this level of betrayal? Keep watching, because Quinn's response changed everything. By the way, if you're still with me on this wild ride, and trust me, it gets wilder, please hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what happens next. That night, alone in my childhood room, the same one where I drafted my first building designs at age 12, I opened my laptop and checked my private email. The one attached to Q. Lancaster Architecture LLC, the company I'd registered 2 years ago, working freelance between Dad's therapy sessions. There it was, the subject line I'd been waiting for. Congratulations, Technova Industries Headquarters Project Award. My hands trembled as I opened it. Dear Miss Lancaster, after extensive review, the board has unanimously selected your proposal for our new headquarters complex. Your innovative approach to sustainable design and urban integration exceeded all expectations. The $45 million contract details are attached. We look forward to announcing this partnership at our press conference on March 15th. Best regards, Marcus Smith, CEO, Technova Industries. Marcus Smith, the same man who'd called Lily to congratulate her on taking over Lancaster Development. The same man whose company Lancaster Development had been courting for 2 years. I read the email again, then checked the attachment. Everything was there. Signed contracts, project timelines, the official announcement draft. They'd chosen me, not because I was a Lancaster, but despite it. My submission had been under QLA, completely anonymous until the final round. For 2 years, I've been building my portfolio, small projects at first, a boutique hotel renovation, a community center, a tech startup's offices. Each one had been a lesson, a stepping stone. And Technova? Technova was the leap. I picked up my phone and scrolled through my contacts to Sarah Mitchell, the lawyer who'd helped me set up QLA. Sarah, it's Quinn. I need to verify something about non-compete clauses, specifically whether they apply to family members who've been formally disinherited. Her response was immediate. They don't. Your father made one mistake. The non-compete only applies to Lancaster employees, not family members he's disowned. Perfect. Sarah Mitchell's office occupied the 40th floor of One Financial Center, with a view of the harbor where I designed my first award-winning pavilion. She poured coffee from a French press, no corporate swill here, and spread the Lancaster documents across her glass desk. Your father's lawyer is Thomas Brennan, she said, scanning the pages. Good attorney, but old school. This non-compete is airtight for employees and partners. She looked up, her eyes sharp behind designer frames. But you're neither. The moment you sign this inheritance waiver, you're formally excluded from the family business structure, meaning I can operate freely. Better than freely. You can compete directly. She pulled up something on her tablet. I also did some digging. Did you know I represented your father once? 5 years ago. Property dispute. I didn't. He tried to lowball a contractor who'd done exceptional work. I represented the contractor. We won. She smiled. Your father called me a shark with lipstick. I had business cards made. I laughed. The first genuine laugh in weeks. Here's what I propose, Sarah continued. Sign their papers, take the $50,000, then announce QLA at the most public moment possible. When is this shareholders meeting? March 15th. 200 people at the Ritz-Carlton, where Lancaster Development has held every major announcement for 30 years. She made notes. The media will already be there. The board, the investors, the whole ecosystem that your father values more than family. It feels calculating. No, Quinn. Calculating was giving you $50,000 for 3 years of unpaid labor. This is justice with interest. We spent the next 2 hours crafting a timeline. Every detail planned. Every contingency covered. One more thing, Sarah said as I stood to leave. That Technova contract. I know Marcus Smith. He doesn't make decisions lightly. You earned this. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Thank me after March 15th. That night, I sat at my desk, the same one where I'd spent countless hours managing Dad's recovery, his correspondence, his life, and opened a new document. Dear Father, by the time you read this, everything will have changed. For 3 years, I've been invisible to you. The daughter who handled your medications, your therapy, your business correspondence while you recovered. The one you valued at $50,000, less than you spent on Lily's car. What you never knew. Every building you praised in the last 2 years. The Harborside Boutique Hotel, the Innovations Lab in Kennel Square, the Phoenix Community Center. I designed them all under Q. Lancaster Architecture, the firm I built while you slept. Today, as you introduce Lily as your successor, I'll be introducing myself as the principal architect for Technova Industries' new headquarters. Yes, the $45 million project Lancaster Development pursued for 2 years. They chose me, Father, not because I'm your daughter, but because I'm better. I'm returning the family keys as requested. I've signed your papers. The $50,000 will cover my office lease for a year. Rather poetic, don't you think? I learned everything about business from watching you, including what not to do. Your invisible daughter, Quinn. P.S. Lily might want to Google Technova Industries before the meeting. It's not a software company. I printed 3 copies. One for Dad, delivered by courier to arrive during his speech. One for my records. One for Sarah Mitchell, insurance against any legal retaliation. Then I wrote a second letter, shorter, kinder, to Mom's memory, telling her I'd finally found my voice. I sealed it, placed it in my jewelry box next to her wedding ring. 3 envelopes that would change everything or destroy everything. In less than 72 hours, I'd know which. The extended family gathered in the mansion's dining room like it was already a celebration. Uncle Richard flew in from Seattle. Aunt Patricia wore her judgment like jewelry. Even Cousin Bradley, who'd been expelled from 3 colleges, showed up in a suit that cost more than most people's rent. So proud of Lily, Aunt Patricia cooed, air-kissing my sister. Finally, someone with real business acumen in the next generation. I signed the papers at 11:47 a.m., my signature steady and clear. Dad didn't even look at me. He was already toasting with Uncle Richard to the future of Lancaster Development. Lily had prepared a speech, of course she had. "Family means everything to me," she began, one hand on Dad's shoulder. "These past 8 weeks, watching Daddy recover, have shown me what true leadership means. It's about vision. It's about courage. It's about knowing when to take charge. 8 weeks. She'd been here 8 weeks. Quinn," she continued, turning to me with that practiced PR smile. "Thank you for keeping things tidy while I was building our international presence. Your organizational skills have been so helpful." Organizational skills. I'd negotiated 3 contract renewals that saved Lancaster Development $4 million. But sure, organizational skills. "Smile, Quinn," Uncle Richard called out, raising his phone. "At least try to be happy for your sister." I smiled. I even raised my glass of water. I hadn't trusted myself with champagne and toasted, "To Lily, may she get exactly what she deserves." Everyone laughed, missing the edge that Sarah Mitchell would have caught immediately. Bradley cornered me by the kitchen. "Tough break, cuz. But hey, not everyone's cut out for the big leagues. You still doing your little drawings?" Something like that. 2 days until the shareholders' meeting. 2 days until everything they believed would shatter like poorly designed glass. The next 36 hours moved with surgical precision. Sarah Mitchell had assembled a team, a publicist who specialized in corporate announcements, a design director for the presentation, even a stylist. "You're not just announcing a contract," the publicist, Janet, explained. "You're establishing a brand. Q. Lancaster architecture needs to appear fully formed, professional, undeniable." The presentation came together beautifully. 15 slides showcasing 5 years of work no one knew was mine. The Harborside Hotel, Lancaster Development, had tried to get that commission. The Innovations Lab, Dad had praised it at a board meeting, not knowing his invisible daughter had designed every angle. Marcus Smith called personally to confirm. "Miss Lancaster, we're sending our entire board to the announcement. This is the largest contract we've ever awarded. We want to do it right. Will you be mentioning Lancaster Development?" Only to note that we reviewed their proposal and found it lacking. Meanwhile, the official contract was being notarized. Sarah insisted on triple documentation, digital certificates, physical seals, video confirmation. "Your father will look for any crack to slip through. We're not giving him one." The stylist selected a black Armani suit. Powerful, but not aggressive. "You want to look like success, not revenge. Isn't it both?" I mused. "The best revenge," she said, adjusting the jacket, "is so elegant that no one can call it revenge." That evening, I did a final run-through with Sarah. Every word memorized, every transition smooth. "You're ready," she said. "Just remember, tomorrow you're not asking for recognition. You're taking it." I drove past Lancaster Development offices that night. The lights were on in Dad's corner suite. Was he preparing Lily's introduction? Writing his speech about legacy and vision? 24 hours, and he'd understand what 3 years of invisibility had really cost him. March 14th, 6 p.m. "Quinn, Dad called. I expect you at the meeting tomorrow. United Family Front, of course. And we're something appropriate. Not one of your artist outfits. I have something picked out." Good. Lily's announcement needs to go perfectly. The Journal is sending their real estate editor. Bloomberg, too. This is Lancaster Development's moment. It will certainly be memorable. He paused. "You're taking this well. I'm glad you finally accepted reality." Reality? If only he knew. Lily had posted 17 Instagram stories in the last hour. Her dress fitting, her hair appointment, a champagne toast with friends captioned "So era loading." The conference room was set up at the Ritz with Lancaster Development logos on every surface. I scheduled the courier service for 2:04 p.m. The letter would arrive exactly as Dad reached the climax of his introduction speech. Sarah had a backup courier on standby, just in case. "Nervous?" Sarah texted. "Terrified," I replied. "Good. Use it." I couldn't sleep. Instead, I walked through my apartment, the one I'd barely lived in for 3 years, and looked at my diplomas. MIT, Boston. Architectural College. The AIA award I'd won 6 months ago while Dad was learning to walk again. Tomorrow, one of two things would happen. Either I'd destroy my relationship with my family forever, or I'd finally build something real from the ashes of their disrespect. My phone buzzed. Marcus Smith. See you tomorrow. We're all very excited to work with someone who understands that buildings aren't just about profit. They're about people. I thought about Dad's philosophy. Buildings are assets, nothing more. In 12 hours, one of us would lose everything. I was betting it wouldn't be me. Are you ready for the moment when 3 years of silence becomes the loudest statement in the room? Do you think Quinn should have warned them? Let's see what happens when preparation meets opportunity. The Ritz-Carlton's Grand Ballroom was Lancaster Development's temple. Every major deal for 30 years had been announced under these crystal chandeliers. The room could hold 300, but today's crowd of 200 still made it feel like the center of Boston's business universe. I arrived at 2:30, sliding into a seat in the 5th row, close enough to see everything, far enough to remain unnoticed. Lily stood near the podium, radiant in red Valentino, practicing her smile for the photographers. Dad worked the room like the stroke had never happened, shaking hands with board members, laughing with investors. Robert, called James Morrison from Morrison Construction. Heard you're passing the torch today. Time for new blood. Dad replied, pulling Lily over. You remember my daughter, the one from Paris. How exciting. And Quinn? She's around somewhere. I spotted Marcus Smith and 3 Technova board members at a corner table. Marcus caught my eye, nodded slightly. The briefcase beside him contained copies of our contract. At exactly 2:55, Dad took the podium. The room quieted. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this momentous occasion. Lancaster Development has stood for excellence in Boston real estate for 60 years. Today we begin our next chapter. He launched in the speech I could have written myself. Legacy, vision, innovation. The words washed over the audience like expensive cologne. Familiar, expected, safe. It is my great pleasure to introduce the next CEO of Lancaster Development, my daughter. The courier entered through the side door, his uniform crisp, his timing perfect. Mr. Lancaster, urgent delivery, signature required. Dad frowned but maintained his composure. My daughter, Lily Lancaster. The courier reached the podium just as the applause began. Everything was about to change. The courier was insistent. Mr. Lancaster, I need your signature. Time-sensitive delivery. Dad's jaw tightened. 200 people watched him wrestle with protocol. Refusing would look weak. Accepting would disrupt Lily's moment. One moment, he said in the microphone, signing quickly. The courier handed him the envelope and left. Dad glanced at it, probably expecting legal documents or contracts. His face changed when he saw the handwriting. My handwriting. He started to pocket it, but Lily had already begun her speech. Thank you, Daddy. This company means everything to our family. Dad opened the letter. I watched his eyes scan the first line, then the second. His face went from confused to pale to red in the span of 10 seconds. As you all know, Lily continued, oblivious, Lancaster Development has been pursuing several major contracts. The Technova headquarters, for instance. What do you mean you're taking the Technova contract? Dad's voice cut through her speech, the microphone catching every word. The room froze. Lily turned, confused. Daddy. He was reading aloud now, seemingly unable to stop himself. They chose me, Father, not because I'm your daughter, but because I'm better. Is this some kind of joke? Lily grabbed for the letter. Dad pulled it away, his eyes finding me in the crowd. Quinn, what is this? I stood slowly. Every head in the room turned. It's my resignation from the family business, I said, my voice carrying in the sudden silence, and my announcement of a new beginning. Marcus Smith rose from his table. Perhaps I can help clarify. Lily's perfect composure cracked. Who are you? Marcus Smith, CEO of Technova Industries, the company you just mentioned. He smiled. Though I should note, Miss Lancaster, we're not a software company. The room erupted in whispers. Lily's recovery was swift but clumsy. Of course, Technova Industries, the technology firm. We've been working closely with them on their expansion into sustainable technology. Marcus Smith's eyebrows rose. We're a biomedical company, Miss Lancaster. We develop cancer treatment facilities. The whispers grew louder. I saw James Morrison lean over to his partner. She doesn't even know who they are. Daddy, Lily hissed, her mic still hot. Fix this. But Dad was still staring at the letter, reading the part about the buildings I designed. His buildings, the ones he praised at board meetings. The Harborside Hotel, he said slowly. You designed the Harborside Hotel, among others. I replied. Lily grabbed the microphone. This is obviously a misunderstanding. Quinn has always been supportive of the family business in her limited capacity. If she's done some freelance sketching. Marcus Smith interrupted. Miss Lancaster, Quinn Lancaster submitted a comprehensive proposal that revolutionizes biomed facility design. Her integration of patient care spaces with research facilities is groundbreaking. But she's not even a real architect, Lily protested. I pulled out my phone, connected it to the presentation system Lily had set up for her own announcement. My credentials filled the screen. MIT, master's degree, licensed architect, AIA, Emerging Architect Award. I've been a licensed architect for 7 years, I said. You just never asked. The journal reporter was typing furiously. The Bloomberg photographer was shooting everything. Uncle Richard stood up. Robert, what is going on here? Dad finally found his voice. Quinn, we need to discuss this privately. No, I said. You chose this venue, this audience, this moment. Let's finish what you started. Lily's face had gone from red to white. Technova was supposed to be our biggest contract. Marcus Smith confirmed. I walked to the podium with the same measured pace I'd used for 3 years, bringing Dad his medications. Calm, steady, inevitable. Good afternoon. I'm Quinn Lancaster, founder and principal architect of Q. Lancaster Architecture. The screen behind me changed. My company logo appeared. Clean, modern, nothing like Lancaster Development stayed crest. For the past 5 years, while managing my father's recovery, I built a portfolio of sustainable, human-centered designs, buildings that prioritize people over profit margins. I clicked through the slides. Each project appeared with its accolades, its impact metrics, its innovation scores. The audience leaned forward. 3 days ago, my father valued my contribution to this family at $50,000. Today, I'm here to announce that QLA has secured the Technova Industries headquarters project, a $45 million contract that will create over 200 jobs and establish a new standard for medical facility design. The contract appeared on screen, signed, sealed, indisputable. Dad stepped forward. Quinn, this is highly irregular. What's irregular? I continued, maintaining my composure, is expecting someone to sacrifice 3 years of their life for free, then dismissing them with less than you'd pay a junior associate. Your family, he protested. Exactly, which makes it worse. I turned back to the audience. Lancaster Development built its reputation on traditional values. QLA builds on something different. Innovation, sustainability, and a radical idea that buildings should serve the people who use them, not just the people who own them. Marcus Smith stood. Technova is proud to partner with Q. Lancaster Architecture. We believe Quinn represents the future of architectural design. The journal reporter raised her hand. Miss Lancaster, are you suggesting Lancaster Development is outdated? I met Dad's eyes. I'm suggesting that invisible daughters sometimes see things others miss, including opportunities. Let me show you what invisible work looks like, I said, advancing to the next slide. The screen filled with a detailed timeline. 3 years. Every project I'd touched. Every building I designed. Every contract I'd saved while Dad recovered. The Harborside Hotel renovation. Lancaster Development's most praised project of 2023. I designed it between physical therapy sessions. The Kendall Square Innovation Lab, completed while managing 16 medical specialists. The Phoenix Community Center, drafted during the 43 nights I slept in the hospital. Each building appeared with its awards, its press coverage, its financial impact. You might recognize some of these buildings. I continued as Lancaster Development Properties appeared on screen. The Seaport Towers renovation that saved $2 million in environmental fees. That was my sustainable design. The Back Bay restoration that the Globe called architectural poetry. I submitted those plans under a pseudonym while Lily was in Paris. James Morrison stood up. Robert, did you know about this? Dad's silence was answer enough. Marcus Smith opened his briefcase, pulling out a bound presentation. For the record, Quinn's proposal for Technova wasn't just better than Lancaster Developments. It wasn't even close. She understood something fundamental. The healing spaces need to be designed by someone who understands what it means to heal. The screen changed again. A video testimonial began playing. My former clients, one after another, praising work they'd never known was connected to the Lancaster name. Quinn Lancaster designed our boutique hotel while caring for her father full-time. Her dedication was extraordinary. David Park, Harborside Properties. We specifically requested her for Phase 2. Talent like this is rare. Jennifer Martinez, Innovation Partners. Lily, try one last time. This is corporate espionage. She used insider information. Sarah Mitchell stood from her seat. I'm Quinn's legal counsel. Everything was done properly, including her right to compete after being disinherited. Let's talk specifics, I said, clicking to the financial slide. Since some people in this room value numbers over everything else. The screen displayed the contract details in stark clarity. $45 million over 3 years. Design, consultation, and project management for a 500,000 square foot facility. But that's just the beginning. The next slide showed economic projections. 212 permanent jobs, 18 million in annual economic impact, a LEED Platinum certification that will save Technova $3 million annually in operating costs. I paused, letting the numbers sink in. Lancaster Development's proposal, which I reviewed as part of Dad's recovery reading material, projected 150 jobs and gold certification. The difference? They saw buildings. I saw people. This is ridiculous. Dad finally exploded. You can't possibly manage a project of this scale. I manage your recovery, I said quietly. 16 specialists, 12 medications, 3 therapies, daily blood work, insurance negotiations, board communications, all while maintaining my architecture practice. I think I can handle one building. The Bloomberg reporter stood. Miss Lancaster, what's your projected revenue for year 1? $8 million base, with performance bonuses potentially bringing it to $12 million. And Lancaster Development's revenue last year? I smiled. Asked their new CEO. I'm sure she has those numbers memorized. Lily stood frozen at the podium. Her prepared speech crumpled in her hand. For context, Marcus added, standing again. Technova represents 15% of Lancaster Development's target revenue for next year. Or I should say, that projection will need updating. The room erupted. Board members surrounded Dad. Investors pulled out phones. The press pushed forward. One more thing, I said over the noise. QLA will be hiring. Anyone interested in building something new instead of maintaining something old is welcome to apply. 3 Lancaster Development employees immediately stepped forward. I gathered my materials with the same precision I'd used to organize Dad's medications for 3 years. No rush, no drama, just professional completion. Before I go, I said, the room quieting again. I want to thank my father. Dad's head snapped up, hope flickering in his eyes. You taught me that business is about leverage, about timing, about knowing your worth and demanding it be recognized. I paused. You also taught me what not to do, how not to treat people, how not to define value. Those lessons were equally valuable. I turned to Lily. Good luck with Lancaster Development. I'm sure your 8 weeks of experience will serve you well. A word of advice, Technova isn't the only contract you'll be losing. Morrison Construction is also reconsidering. You might want to actually read those files I organized. You can't do this, she whispered. I already have. I addressed the room one final time. Q. Lancaster Architecture officially opens Monday. We're located at One Financial Center, 40th floor. Sarah Mitchell's law firm was kind enough to sublet space while we grow. Marcus Smith joined me as I walked toward the exit. Shall we discuss the Phase 2 expansion? After the press conference, I agreed. Dad's voice boomed behind us. Quinn, you can't just walk out. I turn at the door. I'm not walking out, Dad. I'm walking forward. There's a difference. The last thing I saw before the doors closed was Lily at the podium, mouth open, no words coming out, while the Journal reporter asked her to spell Technova for the record. But the real shock came 3 hours later. Lancaster Development's stock price updated, down 8% in after-hours trading. And that was just the beginning. By 6 p.m., the story was everywhere. Daughter outplays dynasty. The Lancaster reversal that shocked Boston Business Journal. From caregiver to competitor, Quinn Lancaster's 3-year plan. Bloomberg. Family feud goes public. Lancaster Development loses largest contract to disinherited daughter. Wall Street Journal. The video clips were worse for Dad. Someone had captured the exact moment he read my letter aloud. His confusion broadcast to 2 million viewers in 48 hours. Lily's software company, GAF, became a meme. Technovagate trended locally. Sarah called as I watched the coverage from my apartment. Lancaster Development stock closed down 8%. The board called an emergency meeting for tomorrow. Any legal threats? Your father's lawyer called. I reminded him about the signed disinheritance papers. He hung up rather quickly. My phone buzzed with texts and emails. Former colleagues, architecture school friends, even professors I hadn't heard from in years. But the one that mattered came from Marcus Smith. Brilliant execution. The press conference tomorrow will solidify everything. Technova's board is delighted. We've gotten more positive coverage in 6 hours than we did all last year. Then came the unexpected messages. 3 Lancaster Development employees asking about positions. 2 contractors Dad had lowballed offering their services. Even James Morrison. Your father cost me $2 million in 2019. I'd love to discuss exclusive partnership with QLA. The Phoenix Community Center posted on LinkedIn, proud to reveal that our award-winning renovation was designed by Quinn Lancaster of QLA Architecture. Sometimes the best talent is hidden in plain sight. By midnight, 16 firms had shared similar revelations. My invisible portfolio was suddenly blindingly visible. But the number that mattered most appeared in my banking app. The first Technova deposit, $5 million. More than Dad thought I was worth. In one day, the dominoes fell faster than even Sarah had predicted. Morrison Construction was first. James Morrison's email arrived at 8 a.m. Effective immediately, Morrison Construction is suspending all joint ventures with Lancaster Development pending leadership review. Then Harborside Properties. We were unaware that Quinn Lancaster designed our award-winning renovation. We'd like to discuss future projects with QLA directly. By noon, Dad had lost 3 more clients. Not because of me, but because of Lily. The morning brought a disastrous interview where she confused commercial and residential zoning laws. The clip went viral within hours. She doesn't even know basic regulations. One developer commented publicly. How is she supposed to run a development company? My assistant, yes, I already had an assistant, poached from Lancaster Development, forwarded the morning's inquiries. 12 potential clients, 8 job applications, 3 partnership proposals. Miss Lancaster, she said, Lily's PR firm just dropped Lancaster Development. Apparently, she hadn't paid them for 3 months. The Bloomberg reporter called for a follow-up. Quinn, Lancaster Development's market cap has dropped 12% in 2 days. Any comment? I'm focused on building QLA and serving our clients. I wish Lancaster Development the best. Sources say 3 more employees are leaving to join you. We're always interested in top talent. Well, I didn't say. Those 3 employees were the ones who'd actually been running Lancaster Development's operations while Dad recovered and Lily played in Paris. The institutional knowledge was walking out with them. Marcus Smith texted, Phase 2 approved by the board. Additional $20 million. Announcement next week. $65 million in total contracts in 72 hours. Meanwhile, Lancaster Development's emergency board meeting had stretched to 6 hours. Uncle Richard called me afterward. Your father's lost his mind. He tried to blame you for sabotage. The board reminded him he disinherited you on camera. The family chose sides faster than a middle school cafeteria. Aunt Patricia, who'd praised Lily's business acumen 3 days ago, left a voicemail. Quinn, darling, I always knew you were the talented one. Perhaps we could have lunch? Delete. Uncle Richard was more direct. Your father's being impossible. The board wants Lily out. She's a liability. I'm prepared to offer you a consulting contract to help stabilize things. I have a non-compete with my own company now, I replied. Besides, I'm busy building something new. But the real surprise came from Mom's side of the family. The ones Dad had slowly pushed away over the years. Your mother would be so proud, Aunt Jennifer said when she called. She always said you had her father's gift for design. Did you know he was an architect, too? Before the war. I hadn't known. Dad had never mentioned it. She saved everything, you know. Every sketch you ever made. They're in a storage unit in Cambridge. She paid for it separately, so Robert wouldn't know. That afternoon, I drove to the storage unit. Box after box of my childhood drawings, high school projects, college portfolios. And at the bottom, a letter in Mom's handwriting. My darling Quinn, if you're reading this, you've finally found your voice. I watched you dim your light for others' comfort. Stop. Build something magnificent. Love, Mom. The date was 6 years ago, a year before she died. She'd known. She'd been waiting for me to figure it out. That evening, Cousin Bradley texted. Grandpa just called a family meeting. Says he's restructuring his will. Apparently, backbone is now a key inheritance criterion. Thanks for that. But Dad still hadn't called. His silence was louder than any shouting match could have been. 7 days of silence. Then, at 9 p.m. on a Thursday, my phone rang. Quinn. His voice was controlled. CEO mode. We need to discuss the situation. What situation would that be? Don't be obtuse. The Technova contract. The employees you've poached. The clients you're stealing. I won contracts through merit. I hired people who approach me. Clients are making their own choices. I kept my voice level, just like you made yours. This is still fixable. Come back to Lancaster Development. We'll create a position for you. Chief Design Officer. $700,000 a year. More than he'd ever paid anyone except himself. No, you're being emotional. I'm being practical. I have my own company now. My own contracts. My own future. Which you built using Lancaster resources. Which I built while saving your life. The words came out sharper than intended. 3 years, Dad. 3 years of 18-hour days. And you valued it at $50,000. Silence. Then, if you want to meet, we can discuss a partnership. Lancaster Development and QLA. If you want to meet, it's at my office on my schedule. Your office? One Financial Center, 40th floor. I have a view of the harbor. You can see the pavilion I designed for my desk. More silence. Tuesday, 2 p.m., he finally said. Tuesday, I have a client presentation. Thursday, at 4 o'clock. I'm your father, and I'm a CEO with a schedule. Thursday at 4 o'clock, or we can try again next month. He hung up without confirming, but I knew he'd be there. His pride was wounded, but his business sense was intact. He needed this meeting more than I did. Sarah texted immediately. Recording equipment ready for Thursday. Every word I confirmed. Thursday, 3:58 p.m. Dad arrived alone. No lawyer, no Lily. He looked older somehow. The past 10 days adding years his recovery hadn't. My office was deliberately impressive. Awards on the walls. The Technova contract framed. The view spectacular. Everything he taught me about power positioning turned back on him. Coffee. I offered. This is ridiculous, Quinn. Meeting like strangers. We're strangers. You made that clear when you valued my 3 years at less than your wine collection. He sat heavily in the client chair. Another deliberate choice. The board wants Lily out. That's not my problem. She's your sister, who called me not cut out for business 10 days ago. He leaned forward. What do you want? Nothing from you. I have everything I need. Lancaster Development needs the Technova connection. The market is responding to poor leadership decisions. Again, not my problem. His jaw tightened. A partnership then. Lancaster Development and QLA joint ventures. My terms are nothing. Which are? I slid a folder across the desk. 50-50% profit split on any joint ventures. My company maintains full autonomy. No oversight from Lancaster Development. And Lily completes a 2-year business degree before taking any executive role. These terms are non-negotiable. You taught me that, remember? Never negotiate from weakness. He read through them, his face reddening. This gives you equal standing with a 60-year-old company. No, it gives me protection from a 60-year-old company that just lost 20% of its value because its CEO chose nepotism over merit. You planned this. I planned to be valued. When that didn't happen, I planned something else. He stood. I need to think about it. You have a week. After that, the terms change and not in your favor. He signed 3 days later. Not because he wanted to, but because the board demanded it. The investors want stability. Uncle Richard told me privately. Your stability. Lily is chaos. The math is simple. We met again, this time with lawyers. Sarah had drafted everything airtight. Separate brands, separate operations, I stated. Lancaster Development and QLA can collaborate on specific projects, but we maintain independence. Agreed, Dad said through gritted teeth. Lily gets no decision-making power until she completes an accredited business program. That's harsh. That's generous. The board wanted her gone entirely. He signed where Sarah indicated. One more thing, I added. All collaboration is project-based. Either party can walk away after each project completion. No long-term obligations. You don't trust me. I learned from you. Trust is earned, not inherited. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. Respect is non-negotiable, I continued. In all meetings, all communications, all public interactions. This is business, not family. We are family. We're business associates who share DNA. You made that distinction when you valued my contribution at $50,000. I'm simply maintaining the boundaries you established. Lily hadn't come to this meeting either. I'd heard she was in New York exploring options. Translation: hiding from the Boston business community that had turned her into a punchline. Is there anything else? Dad asked, defeated. Yes. Mom's storage unit in Cambridge. I want the key. His surprise was genuine. You know about that? I know she saved every design I ever made. I know she believed in me when you didn't. I want what she left. He pulled the key from his wallet. I never looked inside. I know. If you had, none of this would have surprised you. We shook hands formally. No hug, no warmth, just business. Exactly what he taught me. September brought the kind of success I'd only imagined during those long nights at Dad's bedside. QLA occupied half the 40th floor, now 12 employees and growing. The Technova headquarters had broken ground, with Phase 2 approved for an additional $20 million. The Sustainable Design Award Lancaster Development had coveted for 5 years sat on my desk. Miss Lancaster, my assistant announced, the Times is here for the interview. The New York Times was doing a feature on the new generation of architectural innovation. They'd called Lancaster Development first. Dad had referred them to me. Progress. The interviewer asked about the family drama. I prepared for this. Family businesses are complicated. Sometimes the best thing you can do is build something of your own. Your father recently called you the future of Boston architecture. He's being generous. Why didn't say? It had taken him 6 months to acknowledge what everyone else saw in 6 minutes. 3 of Lancaster Development's best people now worked for me. They brought institutional knowledge and fresh perspectives. One of them, David, had been with Dad for 15 years. Why leave? I'd asked during his interview. Your father sees buildings as assets. You see them as spaces where life happens. I want to build for life. The Technova building was already winning pre-construction awards. The innovative patient care design was being studied by 3 universities. Marcus Smith had introduced me to 4 other biomedical CEOs. You're building an empire, Sarah observed during our weekly lunch. I'm building something better, a legacy that isn't about domination. That afternoon, I hired my 13th employee, a young architect from Detroit who'd been rejected by Lancaster Development for being too innovative. Welcome to QLA, I told her, where too innovative is just innovative enough. Thanksgiving was the test, the first family gathering since March. Lily had returned from New York with the enrollment confirmation from Wharton Executive MBA program. She looked different, humbled, maybe even thoughtful. "Quinn," she said quietly while helping set the table, "I need to apologize. I waited. I didn't know. About the 3 years, about what you actually did. Dad made it sound like you were just there. I was there every single day. I know that now. I've been reviewing the files. Your fingerprints are on everything. The Harborside project alone. I couldn't have managed that in perfect health, let alone while caring for someone. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. I actually wanted to ask," she continued, "would you consider mentoring me? Not publicly. I know I destroyed that bridge, but privately I want to actually learn this business. Email me a proposal. What you want to learn, how you plan to apply it. I'll consider it." Dad carved the turkey in silence, his movements precise but uncertain. Mom had always directed the meal. Her absence felt larger this year. "The Technova building looks impressive," Uncle Richard offered, trying to ease tension. "Quinn's doing exceptional work," Dad said stiffly. It sounded rehearsed. "Thanks," I replied, matching his tone. But later, while clearing plates, he stopped me in the kitchen. "Your mother would be proud," he said quietly. "I found some of her journals. She wrote about your talent constantly. I should have read them sooner. You should have seen it yourself." "I know. I see it now. Because everyone else does." "No." He met my eyes for the first time in months. "Because I finally stopped looking at what I wanted you to be and saw what you are." It wasn't an apology, but it was acknowledgement. 1 year later, I stood in the completed atrium of the Technova headquarters. Sunlight streamed through the innovative glass design that merged healing spaces with research facilities. Marcus Smith stood beside me along with 300 guests for the opening ceremony. "This building," Marcus said into the microphone, "represents what's possible. When talent meets opportunity, when innovation meets purpose." Dad was in the audience, front row. He'd asked to attend. I'd agreed. My speech was brief. "The best inheritance isn't what you're given. It's what you build despite being given nothing. This building exists because sometimes the overlooked see what others miss. Sometimes the invisible become undeniable." Later, as guests toured the space, a young architect approached me. "Miss Lancaster, I'm in a similar situation with my family's firm. They don't value what I bring. How did you find the courage?" "I didn't find courage. I found clarity. There's a difference between being patient and being passive. Learn everything you can. Document everything you do. And when the moment comes, and you'll know when it comes, choose yourself." The Boston Globe ran a feature the next day. "The Lancaster Legacy: How Quinn Lancaster Redefined Success." But the moment that mattered most came that evening. I visited Mom's grave, something I did after every major milestone. "I found my voice, Mom, just like you knew I would." The wind carried cherry blossoms across the cemetery, her favorite. I'd planted the tree myself, paid for with my first QLA profit. Behind me, I heard footsteps. Dad. He placed flowers beside mine. "She'd be proud," he said. "She was proud, even when I was invisible." "You were never invisible to her." "I know. That's what saved me." We stood in silence. Two successful CEOs who happened to share DNA, finally understanding that legacy isn't what you leave behind. It's what others choose to build from the pieces. Standing there under the quiet sky, with my father beside me, I finally understood. The best inheritance isn't what you're given. It's what you build from the pieces they try to leave behind. And sometimes, the very people who try to make you invisible are the ones who force you to shine the brightest. So tell me, if you had 72 hours to respond to a betrayal like mine, what would you have done? Would you have fought back or walked away? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video and share it if my story resonated with you. Your support means the world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.